Yo, what is going on, my little tadpoles? You got Hiker Toad here, and I am here with week one of NPL Minors. Really excited to be bringing this to you guys. We are going up against John W., coach of the Indiana Keldeos. Really strong player, really good player, and he's a longtime friend of mine. No, he's one of the first people I met on Discord like a while back. And honestly, I really recommend that you check him out. He's only made he's sort of new to the YouTube scene, but I definitely do recommend you check him out because he is a pretty funny guy. So yeah, definitely think you'll enjoy that. But looking at the roster that he drafted, just diving right into this, he has the Mega Gallade, Tornadus T, Suicune, Metagross, Rotom-Mow, Diggersby, Chandelure, Drapion, Stunfisk, Pelipper, Kabutops, and the Golduck. Well, we have our draft that we drafted from the analysis video, and it'll be right on the screen. So, looking at his team, it's a really cool and threatening team as well, with based around Mega Gallade and Torn T. That sort of concept with Mega Gallade being able to break and Tornadus Therian being able to clean really well as be a pivot and grab momentum for Gallade. So that's just a really good core that is probably going to come to most games, I would expect, because no, it's very high risk, no, high reward, lower risk type of thing. It's really good core, basically. And then he has some solid defensive mons around it. Then he has some more breakers like Diggersby and Chandelure, as well as more cleaners, to give him more sort of options to sort of switch it up. So definitely could see stuff like that. And then he has at the end he did add that little rain option, which is definitely something that needs to be prepped for in this matchup, as rain could be, it gives him a nice another option because his draft doesn't really rely on rain, but I think that it's something that can really work out if his opponent's under prep for it. It's just really something that can strain their prep. Certain opponents might not even afford to be able to prep for it, or like you have to prep for the rain and miss out on something like Mega Gallade or like Diggersby or Chandelure, where you miss out on the rain. So it's really kind of hard at that point. So going into this, I knew right away that I wanted to make Charizard my main win con and my main breaker. So basically, his Dragon Resist is Metagross, which is pretty bad, but well, it's decent in most cases. But here, yeah, his Dragon Resist being Metagross, as he does not have a Fairy type, is really, really nice, as obviously Dragon hits everything else, and then Flare Blitz can kind of just blow that away. So I knew really right away, sorry about that, but right away that I really wanted to bring Charizard as my sort of breaker, as his main defensive responses to it are like Suicune and Pelipper, and I can wear that down with like Dragon Dancing and just like spamming Dragon Claw against it and just prepping accordingly for those mons, I feel. And like Suicune doesn't have the most reliable cover, he needs to rely on Rest Talk or just leftovers, which is really easy to wear down, I think, if I do play my cards right. And then Pelipper isn't as bulky as the Suicune, so it won't be as good of a check to the Charizard, so it's definitely something to note there. And his responses to a +1 Charizard pretty much don't exist offensively, as his best Scarfers are Diggersby and Chandelure, both of which I outspeed, and I can even run Adamant Nature for those just because of how they're like base 80 and then like base 76, I think, somewhere around there for Diggersby, and then Chandelure, like I said, being 80, as Gallade will be outspent, then Tornadus isn't really a good Scarfer, and even if it is a Scarfer, it loses a lot of power, and it's really just hard checked by some of my mons if it's like locked into Hurricane by like Celesteela or like Rotom and all that. So I don't think that's the most optimal set that he'd want to bring. So Charizard, just really good mon this matchup. Really looking forward to putting some work with this. I think it's gonna really shine if I can make it work. And so I built my team to really, and so I sort of built my team to take advantage of his Charizard X weakness. So as you can see with my next mon that I will go over, I have the Rotom Wash as another nuisance to his team. Rotom Wash can pretty much 1v1 the majority of his team. Like what he drafted 12 mons and it beats like 10 of those mons 1v1. So like the only things it like really loses to is like Rotom-Mow, and then That's pretty much it. Mega Gallade can kind of somewhat deal with it, but not exactly. But this thing's really nice for the rain. Defog just gets rid of rocks and all that, and obviously, and Protect is for his Z moves. I really something like a Z Grass, not Tornadus, or just a Z Stone Edge. Kabutops is really threatening, so I really want this thing to be really good because basically this is my pivot into stuff like Tornadus and Suicune and all of that, and because he only has two rockers, which also makes Charizard better. And this being Stunfisk and Metagross, and this can beat both of them 1v1. So I can keep rocks away from off my side of the field while just being able to pressure him with Charizard even further because of that. And since his only switch into this is the Rotom, I can Volt Switch, giving Zard more opportunity to come in because I can just send in Zard against that for free. And Flare Blitz is pretty free right there. Or even just a Dragon Claw if I'm expecting the Suicune or Pelipper to come in. So that's really nice. Really like running this matchup. Pretty standard set, but it just does the job. So doesn't really say else about there. And so the sort of second mon to really help support Zard, I had this sort of core of Rotom and Whimsicott. So basically, Whimsicott is my cleaner of this matchup if Charizard doesn't end up getting the chance to Dragon Dance up and clean itself, as he has two answers to Whimsicott, being, well, three technically, but Chandelure and Metagross, and then Assault Vest Tornadus are his only real answers to the Whimsicott. So if I am able to weaken the Metagross or Chandelure or in Tornadus, I can really put in work with this. And there's even a chance that he doesn't bring like the Chandelure, and I'm not really sure if he'd want to bring Assault Vest Tornadus literally just for the Whimsicott, as that's like sort of the main special mon on my team. Besides, I guess, like Nidoqueen, if he's worried about like a Life Orb variant, which he definitely could be, as Nidoqueen definitely is annoying for him to switch into. But yeah, Pixie Plate, Moonblast Spam, really nice. And then I can just U-turn, like I said, into the Charizard, which is really good. Sort of get that momentum as I can U-turn on the incoming Metagross, get Charizard in for free, or just U-turn on the Chandelure, and then at that point I could probably get a Dragon Dance up and potentially clean, or just make some really big holes in his team to clean with the Whimsicott later on. Encore is just for Suicune because that thing's annoying for my team to deal with. And so yeah, it's my Whimsicott. So next up, I do have the Nidoqueen, which is the main reason I brought this is Toxic Spikes, and because Toxic Spikes are just really good versus his draft, as I don't think Drapion is the most optimal bring versus my team. I think he has better brings that he could bring over Drapion, and this thing can beat Drapion 1v1 anyways, so it's sort of tricky for him to get rid of Toxic Spikes that way, and this thing beats both of his removers in Rotom and Pelipper, and also can do a big chunk to Tornadus, but I'm not even sure if he'd want to bring the Tornadus as a defogger, because I know John is a player, and I know that he's not exactly the person to prioritize removal. Like I feel like I definitely prioritize removal to some extent. I feel like John definitely doesn't, so I really want to try and take advantage of that aspect of him as a player, as just sort of a benefit of knowing him and battling him so many times in my draft league career. So yeah, T-Spike's just really nice wearing stuff like Glade, Suicune, all of that down, really nice. Like especially Suicune really helps the Charizard. Like that's like the sort of main goal of this team, to support Charizard. And if I can do that, and we're pretty much golden. So yeah, that's pretty much all about the Nidoqueen. Actually, one more thing. I am Pasho mainly for the Kabutops because, like I said, rain is definitely something I feel should be prepped for, and I think that I am lucky enough to actually be able to really afford to prep for it, as like I take like about 50% from a waterfall in the rain from a Kabutops with the Pasho Berry, and then I can just knock them out with the Earth Power, so that's actually really nice there. So this is like a really good rain check, because I know he's not bringing Golduck, because I know he isn't real enough, but yeah. Definitely really nice as a check to the Kabutops, as it can take everything that isn't a water type move, and Pasho obviously covers that. So next up we do have the Terrakion, and Terrakion's typing is really unique in the sense that it really covers a lot of like types. Like let's say in this matchup, for example, the Diggersby normal, just resisting normal is really nice because that's sort of a rare thing in draft. Like if like you have like your steel type that resists normal, but then you usually don't have much else, so that's really good. So basically, Diggersby really is a big nuisance to my team because it can do really big damage to Rotom. Like Rotom beats it 1v1, but like at the cost of it losing like half its health or whatever, and then me being weaker to like Tornadus or Kabutops late game. So it's definitely something I really like, as this will most likely be my initial switch into the Celesteela as well because he is likely, I feel, to want to predict my Celesteela if he's like Life Orb or even like Bandit or something. You go for like the Wild Charge or Thunder Punch, and that could really heavily damage my Celesteela, which I really don't like because I have I have I have Celesteela on this team for a specific reason. So I really can't afford it to be weakened that heavily. So that's something really important. So yeah, it also gives me a rocker. Like I said, I want to try and hazard sack him if possible. Just have dual stab because that hits everything. Didn't really need anything else, and taunt is just really good for stopping stuff like Suicune from resting up, and even I could just like sack this and just taunt like a defogger like Rotom or something, which is really really nice. Not gonna go too much in depth into the EVs, just in case we do rematch. Just like I think the just explaining the set is sort of more important anyways, as like I said, it's just my main sort of Diggersby kind of check, as well as Chandelure. I haven't really mentioned Chandelure because it's kind of an odd Pokemon this matchup. I feel like it's almost the seventh Mon because it's something that's really good versus me because my Ghost Resist is basically Zangoose. I do have the Alone Persian, but that just gets blown away by any Fire type move. So I really wanted something that could somewhat check the Chandelure and the Diggersby, and that can really and Terrakion just really sort of fits that role and can outspeed both of them if they're not choiced, scarfed. So yeah, that's really something I like about Terrakion here. So lastly, we do have the Celesteela. So like I mentioned, Celesteela is here for a very specific reason, and that is because I am very weak to the Mega Gallade. Like, on my entire roster, I don't have a good switch into it. It pretty much just gets a kill whenever it comes in if I didn't have this set. Although if he does manage to get and keep rocks up, this will close combat max attack will 2-hit KO me, and will 2-hit KO me on the switch in. I could obviously protect, but then that just becomes mind games of whether he has sword stances on my protect, and that's not something I want to really deal with, as I've been in some mind games with John before, and it's not the most fun sometimes. So yeah, this is mainly to help really check that Mega Gallade. Seeds is just really annoying for his team, especially with like Toxic Spice. I can even potentially beat down the Stunfisk, Godfisk eventually, which is quite surprising because Stunfisk obviously a god, but I don't know how that's possible. But yeah, mainly this thing's really here to check that Mega Gallade, and it's also just a really good backup check to stuff like Diggersby, like Metagross, and just like Diggersby, Metagross. There was another Mon that I was thinking about. I don't know why. It's blanking. Oh, Tornadus. Yeah, I don't know why I blanked that. But yeah, it's also another. It's like, obviously this isn't Spadef, but it can still check the Tornadus to a certain extent if the Rotom gets low. So yeah, this is going to be my team for my Week 1 matchup versus John W. So I'll be right back with the battle. Alright, and we are back with the game against John W, aka TNI Saucy Juan J, for whatever reason that's his name. But yeah, we are back with the battle, and if you did not watch the builder, I'll quickly go over the team that I have planned. I have the team based around Charizard X breaking and potentially cleaning late game, as he really struggles to deal with the Charizard defensively, and I have the Rotom Wash and the Whimsicott to help Volt Switch and U-Turn respectively to gain me momentum into the Charizard to help break, to clean with my Whimsicott potentially late game. So, and then I have the Celesteela, which is like defensive as a secondary sort of check to Diggersby, my main check to Gallade, and also a secondary check to the Tornadus. I have my Terrakion, which is my main sort of check to the Diggersby with the Sugar Berry to help as that helps it take both normal and ground stab from it. and it also is my Chandelure check, sorta, if he wanted to bring that, which thankfully he does not, as that thing was a really big threat. Just dual stab with the taunt and the rocks. Rotom, just like I said, sort of pivot to help get Charizard in, and just really kind of beats everything on his team bar the Rotom Mo, so that's really something that's really good against him this matchup. Then Nidoqueen was his Pasho to help against the rain, and just Toxic Spikes because weakening that Suicune and the Mega Galade's really huge this matchup. And then Whimsicott U-turning all that to get into the Charizard to break. Pixie Plate with Moonblast is really good late game, could potentially clean with that, and just Encore to help with the Suicune because Suicune is annoying. So yeah, he does end up bringing that Mega Galade Tornadus Core with the Diggersby, Suicune, Metagross, and Rotom Mo. So kind of a team that I sort of expected. He decided to leave the rain at home this week. So yeah, kind of glad about that. Nidoqueen's looking to be not as useful as before because it was really good against Kabutops if he had that. But that is all good, as I'm just going to lead with the Rotom, as like I said, it does heal, kind of beat the majority of what he has, bar that Rotom Mo. So like I said, I don't really need Nidoqueen since he didn't bring the rain. So I'm just going to go into it and get those Toxic Spikes up. Those Toxic Spikes are really nice for the Suicune right here, and the Mega Galade. But as you see, he's just going to Toxic multiple times, so expecting me to double up, but I'm just going to stay in. I kind of want to sort of bait the rest, as he's playing very recklessly with the Suicune, so I'm really just getting that sort of vibe that he does have the rest, so I really want to force that rest, and then sort of play around it from there, as he is going to finally just go for the Scald, pop my Passion Berry, as he's going to be in range of another hit. So he's either going to Scald here if he does not have rest or rest, so I'm just going to go out into my Rotom Wash at this point, pretty free. I can just Volt out again, and so I'm just going to go out into my Whimsicott, so I want to see how he really responds to that Whimsicott immediately, as I can just U-turn really free, as U-turn's just really free because even if he does stay in, I still have that Rotom to just Volt Switch again, so yeah, it's really free on my behalf. So he does go into the Rotom. Maybe tried to get that sort of defog off. Wanted to try and do that, but this is a perfect opportunity to go into my Charizard, as he does reveal the leftovers, so he's not going to outspeed me or anything and have like Choice Scarf like Thunder Wave or something. So Flare Blitz is pretty much free right here, so I can just go for that, knock this out, as he is going to decide to stay in, so that's really important there. As he's going to go into his Metagross here. Okay, so basically this screams Aqua, obviously. And I think it's very likely, like 9 out of 10 times he's Aqua. So either he's going to go for the Earthquake, or he's going to predict my swap into like Rotom or Celesteela and just go for the Rocks, as Rocks really punish my Charizard. However, at this point in the game, I don't really see Charizard X as important. I think that at this stage, Whimsicott is better as a cleaner, as I don't think I'll get as many opportunities to set up with my Charizard, and I really want those Toxic Spikes for that Mega Galade, as Whimsicott actually doesn't that was a voice crack. Whimsicott doesn't Oko the Mega Galade from full, so and if I can get big damage off on this, that really helps my Whimsicott even further in cleaning, so I'm just going to go with Flare Blitz right here, as he is going to over-predict and go for those Stealth Rocks, which is really nice, so I can just nab another kill with Charizard right here. That's really important, as he's just going to go to bench me with the Mega Blade, and I can just sack him because it's really not good against anything, it's just to the rest of this team, so that's pretty fine to just sack them off here. As afterwards, I can just go into my Celesteela. I wanted to go into Celesteela here just because I really like the option of just pressuring the Suicune over, like, if I went Whimsicott, he might have gone Tornadus, and I didn't want Tornadus to pressure my team, as like Tornadus applies more pressure to me than a Suicune, so I'm forcing him to play more defensively here, as he's going to reveal the Sing, so that's interesting to say the least, as John might say, but yeah, Sing's really weird, but yeah, he's going to get that 55% chance and put my Celesteela to sleep, as unfortunately this Galade is still alive and not dead to my Celesteela slamming its entire body on it. But Yeah, so Celestial's now asleep. That's kind of puts me in a bit of a bad situation. But now I'm just going to actually just go and stack my sort of Charizard off here, as I actually do burn a sleep turn here, so that's nice. But I'm going to just stack off my Charizard, as I figured that he's if he wants to risk a 55% move, he might as well just stay in to go for a close combat and get some damage off. But yeah, I'm just gonna sack Charizard off here, as he actually does go into the Tornadus. So I'm going to actually try and preserve my Charizard and go into Rotom to keep it as a sack, as having a sack's really nice. However, I think that was one of my misplays in this game, as Tornadus is looking to be his main sort of win con at this point, because I think Gallade is checked. I think that Diggersby is checked. Suicune is Scald and Toxic with Breast Talk, so it's not like a Calm Mind variant. I think I can deal with that if I play around it properly. Like, I can Encore it and seeds it and like taunt it with Track, and just even Rotom applies a lot of pressure to it. And so he's just going to knock off, and that's why I really think this was just a bad sort of play by my end, as Rotom's longevity is now just less, and Tornadus is looking really scary, as my Celesteal is asleep right now, and my Rotom's like looking to be really low at this point. So it's definitely something to take note of, as like definitely like Tornadus can't, as Tornadus outspeeds my entire team, as Terrakion is not Scarf, so that's something to be a bit worried about. So I'm just going to protect here, as if he had the Z Boom Doom, I feel like he would have revealed it there, as he's just going to U-turn and actually go for the Z on the next turn, but it's not Boom Doom, it is the Supersonic Sky Strike, and that's going to do a lot of damage, but I get some good chip on this in return. So now it's a bit of a interesting kind of play here. Like, there's a few options I can do. I can either just attack him with the Stone Edge, or I can go for the rocks. And so basically why I say I could go for the rocks here is because after Regenerator, he'll be at like 70% or so, like around there. But if he takes rocks, he'll recover like only like 7%, so he'll be at like 45 when he comes back in. And because of that, and since Whimsicott is Pixie Plate, well, if rocks are up, he has no switch-ins to Whimsicott at that point, because Pixie Plate boosted Moonblast, that's fun to say, does like 50% to his Tornadus, so that thing will drop if he wants to try and switch that in. And I think that Whimsicott is my win con at this point, so I definitely think that trying to do that is really important, as I feel like with Tornadus being his win con, I feel like it's not something that he wants to risk at this point, as it's either Tornadus and Suicune are sort of his best ways of winning this matchup, with either Tornadus cleaning or Suicune just walling out my team. But I do think Tornadus does have that sort of upper hand in beating me late game, so I definitely think he's going to switch out, as he does. So I'm just going to go for the rocks, as Suicune's still going to be asleep for the next turn, but I don't want to mess around with rolls. And he also could have made the offensive play into that Mega Gallade, because he takes a Stone Edge like relatively nicely, and then he could have just killed me the next turn, so I wouldn't have even had the opportunity to go for rocks. So yeah, I'm just going to switch out here, try and wake up with Celesteela, because nap time's over. That lullaby was I don't know, it's not my time. Why are you saying that? But yeah, I'm just gonna wake up here, thankfully, because I'm lucky. But yeah, I'm just gonna thankfully get that Leech Seed off, which is really good. I can keep Celesteela healthy. I can sort of scout out what he wants to do here, see what he might want to potentially choice himself into, as he does go for Thunder Punch, as Celesteel's like back at full already. Celesteel's broken. Yeah, and he's already like below half, so that's really nice. And at this point, no matter what, my play is just to sack Charizard. I don't see if it's Life Orb or not, because I died by the rocks, but it's still overall just my best play, as I think Rotom still has some usefulness to it, as I can just go into my Whimsicott here, as if he's Scarfed, I really don't care, and because I can just take the Thunder Punch, and obviously if he's not Scarfed, I just outspeed him, kill him. So I'm just going to Moonblast here. It's really free. I considered Tailwinding here, but the reason why I don't think Tailwind was ever the correct play was because this is looking pretty useless. This is looking like one of his least useful members of his team at this point, being the Diggersby. and if he wanted to just stay in and sack it off, and he ends up being life orb, if he ends up being life orb or like silk scarfed, and he just fires off a return, my Whimsicott dies, and I'm in a terrible position, and I have a really good chance to lose at that point. So Moonblast is overall my safest play. As he does try and go to that into that Tornadus, thinking he can live, but he's just going to drop to the Moonblast, as that's really good. As this point, it's looking like Whimsicott has a really good shot to win at this point, as I can beat the Suicune as long as I don't play too poorly around that. Outspeed the Gallade and outspeed this unless he's Scarfed. As I'm just going to sack Rotom here, as that's why I kept it as a sack to sort of like just moments like these is why you want to keep sacks sometimes. Like obviously, like some moments you really don't want to like keep sacks. It's better to just sack them right there and then. But it's really nice here as there was no reason to ever risk my Terrakion, like because like Terrakion has more usefulness than this, and Whimsicott is obviously my win con at this point. So yeah, as he does reveal the Life Orb. So like I said earlier, earlier I didn't even know that he was Life Orb or not, but obviously he did end up being Life Orb. So if I went for like the Tailwind as he went for the return, that would have been really bad. So yeah, I can just go into my Celesteela here, get those juicy leftovers as I can protect for free. I don't really care if he switches out. Like I said, I can sort of just Leech Seed the next turn on the Suicune, and if he went to Gallade and tried to Sing me again, he would miss 100%. We do not mess around with Sing Mega Gallade. We already slept for this match. No more sleeping. But yeah, just gonna... Now it's pretty much just kind of a stally sort of part of this kind of stage where I'm trying to weaken the Suicune. Well, I'm trying to get rid of the Suicune preferably, but I'm sort of just trying to wear it down and trying to get myself into a position where I can go into Whimsicott on a rest and I can encore it. As if I go Whimsicott on a Toxic, which he obviously knows that's sort of his play at this point, he needs to catch the Whimsicott with the Toxic, as if he does that, he does have his chances of winning like rise significantly, as if he doesn't Toxic it, I think that I'm in a good spot to just win this Whimsicott. So yeah, I'm going to go into Whimsicott now, as he's going to go for the rest. I can just encore for free, I don't really care what he does. Once the sack triggers me, I don't really care, as that is just what he does. And then he's going to go back into the Suicune, because I cannot encore it into rest anymore. So I'm going to just U-turn out now, because I don't want to risk him getting the Sleep Talk roll for Toxic, and Toxic me, because that's annoying, because I don't have the Grass Stab. If I had Grass Stab, this probably would have ended sooner, but I only have Moonblast as my main attacking move, so yeah, it's a bit of a stalwart here. As I'm just going to speed this up, guys. It's kind of just Celesteela and Suicune Wars, as he's just going to burn me and crit, because, yeah. And, yeah, so, just weakening my Celesteela down. I don't really care about Celesteela at this point. Blade's kind of just in check by Whimsicott. So, yeah, just trying to find that perfect opportunity to do that. As I'm going to go into Terrakion here, as Terrakion loses to the Mega Gallade, he only has that left as his sack to try and win with Suicune, and I think that he was either going to... I thought he was either going to rest, or he was going to go for the... either go for the rest, or go for the Toxic here. And even if he went for the Scald, that wasn't the end of the world, as I think Terrakion was just my overall best play. Because if he went for the rest, I could have taunted him the next turn, and he couldn't Sleep Talk, and then I could have just went into my Whimsicott from there, and I think I can encore him into that, unless I'm wrong. But then I could just sort of spam Moonblast and sort of do that. I think I was in a good position that happened, but he does just go for the Toxic, and I'm just going to go for the Taunt here, as he's going to try and go for that rest. As I do cancel that, that's really nice. And this game's pretty much just in checkmate now, as he has to switch into the play because he needs the Suicune to win. And due to the Toxic Orb being clutch, this will be a double down here. I will sack Terrakion onto this to the Mega Gallade, because basically at this point my Whimsicott can just come in and click plus and finish off the game. So that is a narrow 2-0 win against John W. Good friend of mine. Definitely recommend that you guys check him out. I definitely think that he has the potential to have a really strong season in minors. His team's really cool and looks really fun to use as well. Some nice sort of Volt turn like we have. So definitely would definitely recommend you guys check him out down below. He will be in the description. He'll be like, as well as all of the other minors coaches, but John's link will be at the top of theirs for this week. So yeah, definitely recommend you check him out, and as well as the fan server. I'll probably link that down below so you can support the Boston Bowlers. But yeah, that's gonna be all for this video. Get hyped for week 2. That's gonna be get hyped for this week 1 win, and week 2 is gonna be in a week. So yeah, that's all. Peace.